welcome back to the Maximum Cricket Podcast. This is episode 54. My name is Munter and we have Jacko and Lugsy with you today. England absolutely battered Ireland to no one's surprise. Jack Leach is out for the Ashes. Does England even have another spinner? Speaking of warm-up games, we preview the World Test Championship final. Will it be David Warner's swan song or will he sign off in January like he plans to? Hazelwood is out also. Will it even matter or will Australia just be too strong for India regardless? We have a massive announcement regarding the future of the podcast. It's exciting stuff, so look out for that. But first...
It's a yes man maximum, the first of this contest. Oh, that is brilliant. It's a hero maximum. On the ground, down the ground, another hero maximum.
Boys, how are we on the first King's birthday weekend in our lives? Incredible to have a holiday dedicated to Finn Allen.
Yeah. Yeah, lovely to him to finally get the recognition he deserves, I think. Him, Faf and Virat, a lot of time spent together at the IPL, so yeah, good to have a wee holiday for our Finn.
Yeah, look, I actually took it a different direction. I was just telling a few of the boys before, I was just going through all my favourite King of the Rings. So obviously 1993, sort of King Bret Hart was a real favourite for me as a youngster. His brother Owen won it the following year. Stone Cold, obviously, in 96 was a massive one. So yeah, King of the Ring, always a real part of the childhood. So good it's getting some recognition again. A wee public holiday.
I was going to say, there's quite a few kings being thrown around. Like everyone seems to be a king nowadays. Like even in the cricket circles, you've got Finn Allen's a king. Yeah. Like King Coley, like the true king is obviously Warnie, the spin king. Like it's a bit like the goats thing. Like everyone, yes. Like not everyone could be a king.
Yeah, you've sort of got to conquer a kingdom to become a king, don't you? I don't know if that's happening.
I'll tell you what, I was massive on Jacko calling out the goat thing. It's been a real sort of annoyance for me for a long time now. So good to see we're all on the same page there. It does just slightly on that king thing when you read out the names. Finn Allen's really got himself in there pretty quick, isn't he?
I mean, do you reckon people are calling him king at RCB? He hasn't played a game there for 3 years. Do you reckon he's still the king? Like when you got Faf and Coley in there?
I mean, when I genuinely think kings of the sporting world, it's probably still James being number one.
Yeah,
King James. Yeah.
I saw a video actually of like one of his son's teammates like putting the crown on like the son, and I was like, it's probably a bit much.
That's a little bit premature. Probably don't want to have too much pressure. But he did call him LeBron James Jr., so that's not. Oh, I don't want people.
I don't want my son's career to be associated with me. Oh, you're LeBron James Jr.
Oh, well, I wonder who's his dad?
Oh, who's this kid?
Oh, I'm not retiring until I play with my son, but don't talk about my son,
yeah. Don't let my career affect his.
Let's do England-Ireland. Boys, as I said before, lads, England dusted up Ireland inside 3 days, which wasn't a massive surprise. England won the toss and bowled first. Josh Tongue made his test debut as he formed a seam attack with Stuart Broad and Matthew Potts, with Mark Wood, Ollie Robinson and Jimmy Anderson nursing niggles. But it was the old head Stuart Broad that kick-started the English summer, taking 551 as Ireland were bowled out for 172. England took apart Ireland with the bat also, 524 for 4 declared off just 82.4 overs. That is 6.33 and over. Ollie Pope, the fastest double hundred in England, 205 off just 208 balls. Ben Duckett in his first test in England, the fastest 150 at Lords, on his way to 182 off just 178 balls. Even Crawley and Joe Root made pretty rapid 50s to really twist that knife into Ireland. Ireland did show some more fight in day 3, making 362. Young Harry Tector, Andy McBride and Mark Adair all made 50s in a losing cause, so it wasn't their fault. It was only enough to make England bet again, which they did for just 4 balls as England won by 10 wickets late on day 3. Plenty of time for golf the next day for sure, which is crucial for those boys. But fellas, isn't it crazy that England can make 500 at over 6 and over? They went faster in Pakistan, by the way. and it just doesn't feel like it's much of a news story that it was. I mean, Brook, Bairstow, Stokes, they didn't even have to bat, and that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of things from this game. One, the first captain thanks for coming in Test cricket, which is quite something. Stokes, the first captain to win a game without batting, bowling, or keeping wicket. So that's quite
not a bad way
stat.
to earn £15,000, that's for sure.
No, not at all. And that probably brings me to my second, a combined second point. One, they can't play Ireland at Lords. Like, you can't be getting your name on the honours board for this game. Oh, I don't know, Headingley, the Oval, somewhere that's not like the home of cricket, name on the honours board. And
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
maybe this game doesn't need Test status.
I mean,
We've just lost all our Irish listeners here real quick.
I'll push that because I'm genuinely like, it's still not. I don't think it got enough credit. That is an outrageous performance. Like these big dog teams, like of course you're expecting them to beat Ireland, and you'd expect the other big nations to as well. But I can guarantee no one would have put them to the sword like England just.
Nah.
That is an
Unbelievable
outrageous
game.
performance. Like
Clinic.
this is a team that struggled with Ireland like a year and a half ago. It got into a bit of a battle with them.
Yeah, Jack Leach, man of the match with the bat.
I mean, I just looked at that. I was watching the highlights, which, by the way, with this England side, take about 3 hours. And it's just you're just like, hang on, this performance. Like, yeah, people are going to say like it's just Ireland, but that's an outrageous performance.
That's what it's coming down to. I think people are just washing over it as it's just Ireland, that it doesn't mean as much. But I think Lugsy, you did right. Not a lot of guys, not a lot of teams could actually put Ireland to the sword like that. They're not a bad team. I think Jacko's been a little harsh when he's stripping test statuses from teams, but But
well,
yeah, I think it's because it was
England's second team Test attack has torn them to pieces. Like England are missing their top 6 seamers arguably in this game.
Yeah.
That's
Apparently that first day had like the least amount of swing ever recorded in England
just
or something like that. Which is something.
And just to defend Ireland again, I'll just defend Ireland. I'll show you. Like Stuart Broad's knocked the top off a lot of Test teams. Like it's not.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And they did show a bit of fight in that second innings. Obviously got through to 360, which is a competitive enough score. You do that twice, but it's just an England team that they're just not losing at the moment. They're just completely dominating.
Do you reckon Ireland were like, I can't wait for them to see them bet against our bowlers like that?
They were the first team that just ignored that. I might just let them go here. Imagine the bowlers having a meeting like, are we going to say something, boys? And their captain just like, yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So are we back in on Zach Crawley now? Is he
that's the question
saviour?
for you, Matthew, more than anyone. What do you reckon?
I knew it was going to come up again because I copped a little bit of hate through socials about Zach Crawley's back, all that sort of stuff. This is what he can do. And I was listening to a review on day one after Crawley made 50 off 39. First of all, I was livid that my pick missed, and then they said something about the innings which was quite interesting. They said, if you're a Crawley fan, you will look at this innings and go, see, this is what he can do, 50 off 39. And if you're not a fan, you will dismiss it because he French cut the ball seven times for 4 on his way to a quick 50. And I won't argue, I'm firmly in the Crawley cynic, or in my opinion, a person with common sense. So I'm not looking at this innings and thinking, he can definitely handle Stark, Cummins, Boland, Hazelwood on seaming wickets where it's the hardest place to bat, open the batting in the world. But I will say, he is obviously talented and young, and when it's flat, he has the ability to drive the ball on the up. Like, you look at that 100 against Pakistan, for instance. I think, ironically, he'd be a better one-day opener, but Bairstow's doing it, which is ironic for a number of reasons. But all I saw in that innings is that Australia are going to eat him for life. They're gonna eat him up. I'll go on a limb and say David Warner will make more runs than Zach Crawley in this series. Wow. That's how poor I think he is at the moment. And it's not talent, it's decision making that I have a problem with. It hasn't got better at all for a whole year. When the decision to drop Folks for Bairstow was made, the word was that they didn't want to not have an opener up top. And I thought, what skills does Crawley possess to actually make him an opener? Because he doesn't leave the ball and he drives the ball every time. Like, he has no shot selection. He just drives everything. And when it comes off, it looks great. It looks awesome. But when it doesn't come off, and it often doesn't come off, it's off pair taken off, it's a nick to the slips, it's an inside edge onto the stumps. And at no point over the last year has he been required to change. All we hear is Crawley doesn't pay attention to the noise. Maybe you should. Or we back Zach, and it's like, can he at least just give us a hint of a defensive shot? Just a little bit, just the odd one. Can you just defend something?
Well,
like Ben Duckett does that. Ben Duckett defends the odd ball, and he's still aggressive. He still goes at a run of ball. I think it's arrogant, and I think it's stupid, and I don't think he's got a chance against Australia. I don't know why he can't go back to county cricket and sort out his deficiencies and then come back and be a player. There's not, like, it reminds me, here's my analogy anyway. It's like, you know when you've got a really bad kid at school and he plays up all the time, and then wow, you know, remember when you're at school and there's this really bad kid, he's a bit odd, makes a lot of poor decisions, and then 15, 20 years later, you're looking through the court news and you go, oh, there's old Zach Crawley. He never really pulled it, never really sorted it out, didn't he? Because that's Crawley. He's got terrible habits, and no one's doing anything about them, and in turn, it's going to make him a worse player.
I can see Munter.
So that's my
Munter in 10 years' time, just scrolling through cricket info, score sheets. Crawley another duck, but not. Never learned. I knew he'd never learn.
It might be. Is this the first strike against McCullum as a coach, Matt? What are you saying?
I think I listened to McCullum. He did an interview with Sky Sports, and I get the feeling that McCullum's a little biased to his own players, where he keeps saying that he saw himself in Crawley, and that he never was able to play that aggressive way all the time. He felt like he had to rein it in, and it wasn't till he became captain that he just kind of like was himself. Yeah. And I think he's sort of like projecting that onto Crawley.
500 balls though, didn't he?
Yeah, he's still. That's what I mean. Like, there's
reining in, don't they?
Just a little bit of it, just a hint of a. You know, if you can keep the odd good ball out, that'd be nice.
There is obviously players that are like Brendan's obviously seeing a lot more of them than any of us, and there are obviously a lot of players that can look really dynamite in the nets, and you've got to fill them with confidence over and over again to see if they can perform, because there's every chance Brendan is seeing things in him that like we don't see because we just don't see him bat as much. But bottom line, you've got to perform, really, don't you? End of.
Yeah, I mean, we'll find out after the Ashes, I guess, but I can't see it. So,
I mean, who are we saying? Will Warner and Crawley both play 5 tests?
It's a good one. That's a good one, because
save that for the
that will come up actually, because I do like that actually. Because I would say Crawley will, because they're less likely to drop him, whereas I feel like Warner's leash is a lot shorter.
See, I reckon Warner's just depends on how the series is going. Like if it's 2-0,
that's a good point.
2-0
Both
Aussie,
of them probably are, aren't they?
If it's like 2-0 Aussie after 2 games, doesn't matter how Warner's playing, because they're like, right, we're going to win this. Like if they've won the series and he's gone average, they're not going to replace him. They'll let him see out the January 2024 or whatever it is, sort of thing. So it
is one of the stranger things that happens at a professional level, where like the you don't change your winning team sort of thing. It's like, no, you can get better. The other winning team.
No. I mean,
I want to change the side.
You get a group of guys that are winning together and comfortable together, but I mean, there's always room to get better if you can.
Yeah,
well, actually, because they're going to have to change their winning team, because obviously Jack Leach has now been out, which is interesting on twofold, because one, who's the next spinner for England? And 2, I didn't know a spinner could get a stress fracture. So there you go.
These are both potential questions for the pre-Ashes sort of ramp up.
Yeah, I will definitely sort of bring that up again. But I'm very interested to see who the next spinner is.
Yeah. Do they even have a spinner in that squad?
Oh, it's Joe Root.
No, it's just
Joe
Root.
Top wicket
It's a big load if he's going to bowl some. I mean, he's probably going to have to bowl some overs. It's just how
it's going to be easier to talk you boys into Joe Root, top wicket taker in the Ashes preview now, isn't it?
Yeah. Similar to old Jamal Murray finals MVP.
The long shot.
Long shot. Should we do Aussie India, the World Test Championship final this week? Is it Wednesday night? Wednesday night.
So.
Yeah, the two. So probably the two most consistent Test sides over the last few years will go at it at the Oval of all places. Personally, it's always really exciting to see two good sides in neutral territory. It's very novelty sort of stuff. We've seen them in Australia. We've seen them in India. What does it look like in England? So my only sort of problem with this this final is it's getting overshadowed by the Ashes, isn't it? Like, it's hard not to see this. It's poor time. It's hard not to see this as a warm-up when it's like just before the Ashes.
Coming off IPL and pre-Ashes, it's a tough time.
It's a saturated market right now, isn't it?
Yeah, there's not much you can do about it, eh? It's sort of like, it's just unfortunate. Like, I guess if you could potentially always have it not in an Ashes cycle, because the chances of one or both of, like, imagine if it was Aussie England in the final. Where do you put it? Do you put it at the end? Do you put it at the start?
Like, it's
in the middle.
I've probably asked this
in the middle.
I think, but do you reckon, as I say, like an Aussie bowler, if they're saying you're not going to play all 6, do you want an Ashes off with a World Test Championship off? I get with the schedule, it's going to be more likely you miss an Ashes, but if it was all even, do you reckon they'd rather play 5 Ashes Tests and miss Champions? Or?
I honestly, if you honestly ask them, they will say the Ashes.
So they were off the record, and you're just having a yarn. They'll miss this game 10 days out of 10, I reckon.
It's
a bit of a shame, really, for how they're trying to, because this is the only real thing that's been done to address the Test cricket issue. This is the only real thing that's trying to bring a bit more attention to Test cricket as a final.
Yeah, and I think the first final was brilliant that we were in. Like, played over 6 days, great result. Like, did what it needed to do. But yeah, as you said, it's just feeling a touch overshadowed. I think potentially you could move. Like, does it always have to end in England? Like, is there a chance to do you put this in Aussie so it's at a different time of the year, sort of thing? So if you know it's going to be in the Ashes, you play it away. Somewhere else in the world, because I think for me this is like the next great spectacle of Test cricket is watching like great teams play in foreign conditions. For me, it's the most exciting thing about it. Like, I'd love to see Aussie England, but in India or something like that.
Yeah, I think it would just water cooler chat, isn't it?
Yeah,
like, good water cooler chat. Like who would be better in these conditions?
Just brings such a wrinkle. That I think would actually really like enhance some viewership in the game and in the Test arena especially. But obviously it's going to be sort of TV only viewing, because don't know how many Indian fans would turn up to like New Zealand play South Africa and Ahmedabad. But yeah, it's great to be able to see it. Just a little bit of a shame it's being overshadowed by the Ashes.
Despite what we are saying here, I'm actually sort of fizzing for it.
Like,
I think this is like, you've talked about a lot of this Aussie side being underrated, Munter, and I think like this is like the 7 weeks that, like, whether it should or not, this will probably define this team's legacy. Like, if they win this Ashes and the World Test Championship, then I think they will go down as like one of the really great Aussie sides. If they maybe lose this and then get nothing from the Ashes, obviously it's going to take a lot away from their sort of legacy.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about it today, where like this side feels like maybe not the best side since the Aussie Golden era, because I think it's probably this side, and then you've got maybe like the South African side of like the early 2010s. That's probably the best side, like your Steyn, your Callises and that sort of stuff. That's probably your best Test side since the Aussie Golden era. But this Australian team could be potentially right up there if they run the gauntlet here and they win the World Test Championship final. They win an Ashes against a very, very good England team away from home, which they haven't done since 2001. I think it's going to be a very good side. And I've got here, because I want to know, I was sort of thought we could pick apart the two sides and what each side needs to do to win the test. And we'll start with Australia, since we're talking about them. In your opinion, boys, if Australia win this test, what do you see happening?
Yeah, I think this is going to be the runs. Like, they're going to need some big runs from Smith, Labuschagne in the top order. I think their top order is going to have to be their key. Head's going to bat quickly and bat well. I think Carey's really coming on. Cam Green's obviously. Their middle order is starting to really shape things up. But I think if they can get a platform with the bat, obviously Warner's had his issues in England. And yeah, Usman, last series in England didn't go great for him. So I think that platform for Aussie is going to be key, because their bowlers are going to be up for it. The bowlers are going to be their sort of strength. So yeah, if they can get a platform with the bat and sort of build a big total and apply that run rate pressure, their bowlers will be too good over a long period of time. So yeah, for me, it's the platform at the top for Aussie.
Yeah, I think the good thing with Aussie is even with a few injuries now, their bowling depth is very solid. So like, I think everyone's pretty confident in their bowling attack that they'll do a job. So as Jacko said, it runs on the ball. With their attack, I don't know if it has to be huge runs. In a one-off test, I can see sort of a consistently 350, 400. Like, you get that. I don't think you need a massive 500 odd, especially with their bowling attack and then you're over in England. So I just think, you're always, it's the same with every side. You rely on your superstars to do the job. Like Steve Smith will always be their big wicket, Labuschagne. Obviously, for the whole, sort of looking at as the big picture of this and the Ashes, obviously I think the quicker Warner can get some runs, just the better for like their whole sort of setup. That question, if he can get 100 or something first up, it just removes a few questions that they'll have. So hopefully, but it would be good if he can get runs up top. It'll answer a few questions early. And, but Smith, Labuschagne, middle order, always the key.
Yeah, I think we're all in a sort of agreement that it's the batting that's going to be the key. I think the bowling is going to, like, they're going to turn up. They're going to take 10, 20 wickets. I don't have any sort of a doubt in that. And that middle order is pretty strong with your Smith, Marnus and Head, and then Green's coming along, Carey. But I think it's the top two. I think it's Warner and Khawaja, in particular Warner. Obviously, Khawaja's, you'd probably take him over any opener in the world, but it's no secret his record in England isn't great, and neither is Warner's. But I think maybe now that Warner's made that decision that I'm going to retire soon, maybe that just sort of unlocks something in his mind where he's not stressed, he's not worried about making runs, because he knows, like, this is the end, and if it does end, I'm going to sell a hell of a book, so it doesn't really matter.
I think the problem, I certainly think that could be quite freeing for him. The problem is he's not in good enough, like, he's not secure enough that he can just say, like, he's saying on, like, the plans to play to the end of this Aussie summer, and, like, most people think you failed twice first up there, and you won't make the so.
He did sort of say, like, if I make it that far, like, he's sort of like, if my form allows me.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't sound like the conversation was like, all right, if that's when you want to quit, like, it's all yours, keys to the opening role are yours until then. Like, they obviously got a real desire to win this series, and they're going to play their best side. So, as you see, Crom, I think runs early, especially if he can get some in the final of this World Test Championship, he'll just cement himself in for a bit. But yeah, I think the top two is key.
if they can not be just 2 for spit, if they can just be like 2 for 80, 2 for 100, I think that sets them up for the rest of the game.
Even if they can lose their second wicket like in the 20th over, no matter what they're on, like
if
they can just get through each bowler's first spell, like they'll be in a great place.
100%. Right, should we switch over to India?
Yep.
If India are going to be the World Test champions, what needs to happen?
Yeah, interesting, because I'll put it as I think their seamers need to like be on fire, because I think India's at the point where their batting is probably their strength. Like their Pujara, Kohli's in some form, Rohit's proven himself sometimes to be like a really, really dynamic player. They've got these young guys there that sort of are superstars. So I think probably their seamers. Shami is a phenomenal bowler, but their other seamers really need to sort of take fire and rip Australia.
No Bumrah hurts.
Yeah, no Bumrah's hurt. So I think the other seamers will need to take the load. So it's sort of a flip side of that. Their seamers can rip Australia apart. They'll obviously win, but I think India as well potentially as some of these young bats to come in, just maybe give them a license, because they could be game changers in a one-off test especially.
Yeah, I think Shami's going to be real crucial. I think we've sort of tried to talk about how good he is for a while here. Like, in England conditions actually suit him nicely as well. I think he's really got to lead that Indian attack, especially because it's a one-off game, really, essentially for India. So he can bowl, have a pretty big workload for us. So I think he's really crucial. I think India's batting's obviously it's good, but it's a little bit under the pump as well. Not as strong maybe it was a few years ago. There's still a few players with questions. So as I say, I don't know if it will take 500 from each team in this series. I think the team that can grind out sort of 2 scores of 380, I think will win this, because I think both teams have the potential to get rolled once. Good bowling attacks and batting attacks that are slightly vulnerable. So I think, sort of Shami for India, if he can sort of roll Aussie and then they just can be consistent with the bat for 2 innings, I think that's how they'll win it.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely sort of the bowling, and I'll sort of take it a little further where I think they need to sort of get the balance right in the side, and to start with, they probably need to read the conditions right. And what I sort of mean by that is they can't just play 2 spinners for the sake of it, like they did against us in the World Test Championship final. Like, I feel like that final would have been a little different if they had another seamer up their sleeve. And it is at the Oval, which is which is a little more flatter. But it's interesting when you've got Jadeja and Ashwin. It's awesome when you're in India, but then it can create a little bit of a headache when you go to England. Like they have left out Ashwin, who's before in the past, who's probably the best spinner of our generation. So to think about leaving him out is crazy. So obviously you've got Jadeja, he's at 6 or 7, he's world class. Keeper at 6 or 7. Bowlers that are locks, you've got Siraj and Shami are probably definite locks. The other one's probably like an Umesh Yadav, and then it's probably between Ashwin and Shuttle Thakur. So like Thakur's going to give you a bit more, he's going to give you a boost at 8, so is Ashwin. I think if conditions suit it, I would go Ashwin, but it's just being able to pick those conditions, I think, right on the day will be quite key.
They're always hard guys to drop, though, aren't they? Like when they've got records
100%.
like both spinners do, like it's always a bold decision to not go with them.
Yeah, and it's just because Jadeja is so valuable. Like, he just adds that balance to your side where he can bat in that top 5, top 6. Like, no other side in the world would drop Ashwin.
Yeah.
Even. No. Like, you just wouldn't. And like, the other move is to not pick Jadeja, but then that leaves you batting a bit weak, and it just, the balance of the side just goes a bit funny.
Too high.
Yeah, it feels high, especially in those conditions. If it's in India or something like that, you could maybe get away with it.
Especially for like a one-off test.
Yeah, for sure.
I was
going to say, should we move on to our picks since we was already talking about it? Jacko, we'll start with you. You must be frothing for a recap, because not only did you get on the board with Broad taking 5, but myself and Lugsy had a loss. So any messages for the haters?
Broken clock is right twice a day. That's what I'll give him. To be fair, I got to Broad was probably my fourth choice to be top wicket taker in that game. He was the only one that played. So.
Called it from day one, eh?
Yeah, actually day one pick. What a great pick from me. But probably have to stack a couple more days to sort of have any sort of position to give you boys any shit after the streak I started with. So but good to get one on the board. Didn't think it would happen, but streak's over unfortunately. So
okay, all right. So just picks for the World Test Championship final.
I feel like the bowlers. I'm finding it quite tough to pick a bowler. I'll stick with my prop bets, and I'm going to go Travis Head to be Aussie's top run scorer in their first innings.
Wow, that's paying $5, people.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Top gets knocked over. He comes in at the end.
Yeah, I don't know. He's just a good counter attacker. His average and his strike rate over the last 12 months are exceptional. So, I think in this one-off test, he could just be up for it. I'll always give value. That's probably my downfall. Probably why I only hit twice a day. But Travis
I like it. I like that. I like that in a one-off shootout. If it's nipping around, top order gets knocked off. It might be similar to that Gabba innings.
That's
South Africa.
Just what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I like it. Lugsy?
I think it is important to remember here, like when we're talking about our tips, we don't ever just go like straight up someone to win. Like, if we were doing that, we'd be.
We have.
We've done it. So if we've done it every week, like we'd be slightly better here. We're trying to give a bit of odds for the punters.
We're trying to find your value, not just certs.
Yeah. So with that being said, I will go Sharma at top one taking for India first innings. As I previously said, I just think he's a very underrated bowler. I think he'll bowl well.
$3.50. No, sorry, $3. $3.
You chuck.
He was top wicket taker for India against New Zealand, wasn't he? That first innings, I believe.
He's a great bowler.
He's a good player. We're a big Mohammed Shami sort of podcast.
Yeah,
sure.
So lock him in. Can we just before after you do your tip, what are you actually thinking for the game head to head? Because I thought about it a bit, and I don't know where I'm at yet.
I think Australia. I think Australia's got too many ways that they could win. I'm not convinced of India's batting. That'll hold together. I just feel like it's not as strong as it was 2 years ago when we played them. And their bowling just feels a touch light with no Bumrah.
Is this sort of... Sorry, Jacko, you go.
No, I was just going to say, I'll go Aussie as well. I feel like this is probably the best version of the Aussie side. Like, they've got all these seamers. I think that they might have rolled with this seam attack, even with Hazelwood fit, potentially. That's how good Scotty Boland's been. But, I think this is sort of Aussie's best version that they're going to be for a while. And I think India's like a little bit of a transition to these younger players, and Bumrah out. So, Aussie just feel a bit more complete at this stage.
Yeah, I think the other thing I was thinking is this, like, coming off the IPL and India going straight into this, whereas Aussie are really ramping up for a big Ashes series. Like, you think maybe this should mean a bit more to Australia? This was like the start of a massive 6 weeks for them, and they should really hit the ground running.
I think it is a lot like it. When I talk down of India, I think it's because I do rate this Australian side very highly. Like, I do think they tick a lot of boxes, and they've got a lot of guys that have been performing for a long time. So I just think they've got too many weapons. So, and probably the biggest weapon for me is Paddy Cummins. I think it just feels like it's been a while since he took a bag. Do you know what I mean? He's not the world's best bowler in the world test wise. He had that stranglehold for a while. He's the captain. I think he wants, I can see him sort of starting the tour, bowling a lot of overs, taking 5, really taking this game by the scruff of the neck, sort of get them rolling. When I did make the punt, it was at $3.25. Now it's shortened down to $3. So I think
so much on it?
my big my $5 prop bets really sort of moved the needle on that one. So
Crom, they call him a shark, moves the lines. A big fish, if you will.
Do you reckon Cummins will play all six?
I don't know. It's tough, man.
It all depends on what the Ashes score is, I think.
There's so many. It's not. They've got like it's what is it? 6 tests in 7 weeks. That's tough. So I don't know.
Hard to imagine him not playing
I can't imagine it.
Yeah, they'd have to either be down 3-0 or up 3-0, I think, for him not to play after 3.
Yeah.
Because then he's received the Ashes after the 3rd game. He has the 4th off, and he comes back to win the series, sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%. Before we move on, lads, you got your picks for outside of cricket, your extra bets, if you will, because I'm going to move off the NBA well for now. I'm going to park that 4-0 sort of record, and I'm going to move on to some Champions League football. Man City to pretty comfortably beat Inter, I believe. I think this is a generational side. They're going to complete the treble. It's just the stars are aligned. So they're going to win by more than 1 goal, which is paying $2.25, which I think is good value. So I'm looking at a 3-1, a 2-0 result for the boys in light blue.
Yeah, don't hate it. I don't know a Scooby about soccer, so yeah. Could be the best pun ever, could be the worst. But,
some would say you don't know a Scooby about cricket bets either.
I don't know a thing about any other sports. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to stick to ball, and I'm going to stick to my prop bets. I'm going to go Jokic over rebounds. I think he'll be, if we fire into the belly after game 2, he's going to want to go into Miami, create a real tempo and get on those boards early. So I don't think there's anyone big enough to stop him in the Heat team if he's on a real mission. So yeah, give me Jokic boards.
Yeah, for anyone on that football, just quietly, I was going over the odds with Curtis. The tab's got Inter at 6s, which is pretty good.
Has it gone up to 6?
Yeah, I believe so. This is Bet365. Not sure what they're at on 22Bet. I haven't looked, but
see that back up and running.
I will stick with Jacko and go to basketball, and I'll, despite 30 seconds ago saying we don't do head-to-heads, I'll just go. I'll go to the middle one game 3 head-to-head.
Gav, clip that up, please, would you?
I thought that'd be less odds, to be honest. I know Miami won today, and I know Miami, but I think this is a pretty dominating Denver side, and they'll get back on track. And if you can get them $1.80 head-to-head, I'd take every bit of that. Get some money for the weekend.
Lovely.
You saying Nuggets -11 in the pre-show?
I did say that in the pre-show, and that's where it'll stay.
Said a lot of things. He did say he was going to do Nuggets head-to-head in the pre-show. Yeah. Then during the show, he said we don't do head-to-heads, and then he flipped again and went, we'll take the Nuggets head-to-head. So,
I'm on a bit of a sugar high at the moment. I don't know what's happening.
Right. Should we move on to our new segment and the reasons behind it? So we have always really had Patreon, and it's kind of just been a donation to our cause. You got an early release, but that was sort of it. It wasn't great, but we do thank you to the people that have sort of donated over the last year. So that'll be nice for some equipment coming up. So we asked the public what they actually wanted, and no surprises, it was extra content, a Q&A, and a Discord channel. We've been running this podcast for a year now, so I think now's the time to grow a little more. So basically, our goal will be to release this main pod on a Monday or Tuesday as normal, which is going to be your cricket news with takes, etc. On top of that, you got your snack drafts and some other cricket games and quizzes we have up our sleeve. And then on Friday, we want to release some extra stuff. More drafts, more games and quizzes, and really anything sort of goes because it's on the Patreon feed. So anything's going to fly, basically. So if you want that, on top of that, we will add a Discord channel to go with Patreon, where once a month we're going to look to do a live Q&A. I think in the past we thought about doing one, but we were pretty worried about letting it fly. We'll be behind the paywall, so that won't matter. We might even have a couple of beverages to sort of really loosen the lips a little bit, if that's what you're into. And if Patreon isn't your thing, that is okay. Nothing really changes for you. The pod will be the same. But if you love what we do, you want to support us, plus get some awesome new content, check out patreon.com/maximumcricket, and hopefully this will be running up July 1st, so mark your calendars. Okay, lads, here we go. Something a little different. In the England-Ireland test, Joe Root just passed 11,000 test runs. He is now ranked 11th all-time in test runs. Basically, the game today is, I'm going to give you both 60 seconds to name the 10 batsmen ahead of him as a team. So just blurt them out as they come, and I'll let you know where they are in that sort of ranking, or if they're not in there at all. There are also going to be 2 lifelines if you get stuck. So they means like you'll be I will have to stop the clock, and you get to ask me a question that will help you get an answer. Hopefully, does that make sense? Let me get more stopwatch going. Where are we? Okay. Are you ready? Right. Okay. On 3, 2, 1, go.
Tendulkar.
Cook.
Yep, that's 2. You've got Cook and Tendulkar. That's 2 down. Who?
Lara and Ponting.
Lara and Ponting. That's 4.
Callis.
Callis we talked about last time.
That's 5.
Yeah, you beauty. Michael Clark.
No.
Chanders.
Strauss.
Chanders, yes, that's 6, but no to Strauss.
Graham Smith.
Close, but no cigar. So you got 30 seconds.
Gangu.
You got 6.
No, you're on the right track there though. Dravid.
Saywag.
Dravid.
Yeah,
Dravid,
Dravid,
that's 7. So 3 to go, 20 seconds.
Ponting. Dravid.
Pause.
Pause.
Oh.
Pause. Okay. All right. You got 12 seconds on the clock.
Yeah. Australian. Is there another Australian on the list?
There is one more Australian on the list. And I think it's a tough one to get. I really do. Do you want another question while you've got the clock stopped? Do you want to use it? Because you've only got 10 seconds to go.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Cromie?
I reckon, how are we... Is there anyone from what you call not our generation?
No. Well, the only person that's not from that generation is the Australian person.
Yeah.
So he's like an earlier generation from us. So we wouldn't have seen him bat. We'll seen everyone else bat except for this Australian.
I think I've got.
So ready? So the clock's going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Have we said Sangakkara or no?
Sangakkara, yep. So 2 to go.
Boom.
No.
One of them's
Slater.
One of them's the Aussie.
No.
The trophy border.
Yeah,
Border,
there you go. Gave us
Time stops. That is 9. So
That's harder than
you got Tendulkar, Ponting, Callis, Dravid, Cook, Sangakkara, Lara. You missed Chanderpaul.
I said Chanderpaul.
No, sorry. You got Chanderpaul. You missed Jay Wardner.
Senna.
And then Border in the 10. So you missed the 9th.
Because this, obviously during the test, this list sort of came up.
Yeah.
And that what struck me from there is just how modern it all is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it's a lot from like this one generation, the batting generation.
I think that surely sort of goes on to like how much A, Test cricket they play it, and B, how good the conditions are for batting these days.
Yeah.
So where do you think so?
I feel like a lot of guys are like unbelievable and only ended up on like 8,000 or 9,000, like your Haydens, your Lanners, like your Trescothics, those sort of guys. Even I thought Michael Clark would have been up there, but obviously not.
Where's Clark? Because Clark's like on. Clark is.
What's like 11 to 20 looking, or 12 to 20 looking like?
So after that, you got Root at 11, then you got Steve Waugh,
Nice.
Gavaskar, Eunice Khan, Amlar, Graham Smith, Gooch.
I thought about
That's
that Amlar actually.
gun list there.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. So it's pretty good. So Jay Warner's a tough one because you don't realise you're not putting him as an all-time great, are you?
No, probably not. I wouldn't put him in my top 10 batters, but obviously he's up there.
No. Where do you think Joe Root ends up? Because there's a lot of talk about how far up this list he actually goes. So he's on 11,004. He's a 12,000. You're looking at your Sangakaras. 13,000. You're looking at Dravid. 14,000. He'll be second, and then Tendulkar's almost 16,000.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just 1,000. You forget how much 1,000's quite a while away from him, though, isn't it? Like
he is going to get 10 digs here, though, potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, this might be the last. This might be the last Test series ever. So,
He's
there's
that. He's not going to get Tendulkar then.
Yeah. I suppose I feel like 13's probably his number. Feels about 13 to maybe 14 max. So
past
Cook.
Yeah,
top 5. I think
that'll put him
England's top run
top
scorer,
5. Maybe. Yeah. What's that? Sorry?
I feel like England's top run scorer is probably his.
Yeah, that does
sort of ceiling.
That feels nice. That feels right.
Yeah.
Sort of puts a bow on his career, sort of thing.
Yeah. Sort of.
You forget there are some tasty players that are only around 5-6 fat.
Oh yeah. We've had some tasty players. We just don't hang with these big boys when you look at these numbers. That's what I found when I was thinking about these.
We just don't play enough Test.
We've got Kane at 8,000 and nipping at heels of the top 30 batters in the world.
I'll tell you what. I was just listening.
Where's Kane?
I was just listening to a
Kane's,
guy.
Kane's at 8,000. Yeah.
This just explains how crazy this. Just off topic slightly, but just how crazy this, how much Aussie are about to play in so little time. I was listening to a guy talk about in '93. They went away for an Ashes, and it was like a 4.5-month tour, and they played 16 or 17 tour games 3 days. I mean, this is correct.
They've gone over on the boat.
Yeah,
got to make it.
And he's made $1,000 for that trip. Yeah. That's if he's lucky.
He's
had a couple of free meals.
Yeah.
It's cost him a marriage to book.
Should we? Only sees the kids on weekends. So that is us for another week, team. Thanks to Lugsy and Jacko as always. Like, subscribe, rate and review, and check out our Patreon. July 1st, everything changes. Boys, we'll catch you next week.